get to Woody's World, since I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Sponsored by Wow Furniture. Head down to Denver's finest selection of furniture. Woody's World today is a continuation of our talk about the Hall of Fame and why there aren't more Broncos in it, and whether or not Lynch should be considered a Bronco. He played 4 years for the Broncos. Unlike baseball, where you pick a cap and that's what you wear at the Hall of Fame committee, for people who don't realize, it doesn't matter if you played for 8 teams in the NFL. They recognize you as a player, not as a player with a specific team. So is John Lynch a Bronco? Was Tony Dorsett a Bronco?
No.
Briefly. Was.
Yes. Briefly. But nobody thinks of him as a Bronco.
This is my commentary.
Sorry.
That was a hypothetical question. It had nothing to do with you.
You go, girl.
Was Gary Zimmerman a Denver Broncos player? Well, I think that it's defined by what you think. Zimmerman was here for Super Bowl, retired before the second Super Bowl. How much impact did he have on the Broncos? Incredible. He was a left tackle. He protected John Elway better than anybody ever did in his career. And that doesn't downplay Dave Studdard or the other players that defended John from the left tackle position. But I consider Gary Zimmerman a Bronco. He spent most of his career with the Minnesota Vikings, actually played in the USFL. Do I define Tony Dorsett? Les is absolutely right, and he's interfering again, so I'll interfere with his dope of the day. Tony Dorsett came here. He was a beat down guy at that point in his career, as running backs are prone to do. There was the greatest wide receiver in NFL history, and I don't know the people who went into the Hall of Fame. I don't know whether people remember that he was briefly with the Denver Broncos. Do you know who I'm talking about? Since you're interfering with mine.
A Hall of Famer who was briefly
greatest
Willie
wide
Brown?
Receivers.
Oh, wide receiver?
Greatest wide receiver. Jerry Rice came to the Denver Broncos training camp.
In training camp. He never played
well,
a regular season
he was briefly
game.
with the Broncos.
Okay,
well,
if
he was
you want to
briefly
say
with the
that,
Broncos.
sure.
And you brought up Willie Brown, who we sort of know in this town as longtime coach with the Oakland Raiders. He was an all-pro quarterback with the Raiders. He went in with the Raiders. Early in his career, he was with the Denver Broncos and was traded to the Raiders. Do you count him as a Denver Bronco? Not really.
No.
I don't think anybody even thinks about it. So do we think about John Lynch? I think those 4 years would indicate that John Lynch, what he did when he was with the Broncos, and he was still making Pro Bowl appearances.
All 4 years.
John Lynch counts. Does Terrell Davis count? Of course he does. Steve Atwater, do you consider him a Bronco?
Of course.
He finished his career with somebody else.
The New York Jets, yeah.
So, I mean, Dennis Smith.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm saying that unlike in baseball where you pick a cap, in football you can play for various teams. And we hope, sitting here, even though I'm supposed to be objective, if I were still in that room, I would be voting my butt off and talking my butt off for John Lynch and for Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis deserves it because for 3 years he was the greatest player in the NFL. The greatest player.
Agreed.
Better than John Elway for 3 years. He actually went blind because of his
migraines.
in the Super Bowl, because of his migraine headache, and came back to be the most valuable player in the second half. I think he has certainly earned the right to be in the Hall of Fame based on what I said earlier, that Walter Payton was there with a shortened career. Dwight Stevenson with the Dolphins is in there with a shortened career.
Not Walter Payton, Gale Sayers.
I'm sorry, Gale Sayers. Walter Payton's also in there.
Yeah.
But I think that both of them deserve an opportunity. The Broncos have been shut out. They were shut out for so long. They've been held out too long. There are a lot of other players like Atwater, Randy Gradishar, Rod Smith, who belong in the Hall of Fame with Shannon Sharp and John Elway, who were lifers. I'm Woody Paige. That's my world. Head down to Wow Furniture and check out Denver's finest selection, as I said, of furniture, mattresses, in Colorado's largest rug gallery.